Welcome to Color Conversations. I'm your host, Nayah, founder of Xolani Beauty. Today we're in Lagos, Nigeria, in Lekki Phase 1 at Lecker Cafe. All the L's in a row. Lecker just means yummy, and it's a beautiful place where we are hosted by Bernadette, who is also my guest.
Hi, my name is Bernadette. I'm the owner of Lecker Cafe. I'm a restaurateur. What does lecker mean? Lecker means yummy. It's born out of a desire to present and serve delicious meals, especially German dishes. Most people don't understand that we're not all about sausages, but we're all about really delicious, yummy food and desserts. I'm also a passionate gardener, and I happen to be a fencer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Feyi Luther, and I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, advocate for better living for children with autism, an inspirational chef, a speaker, a plus model, and the owner of a plus size range as well.
Welcome to the conversation.
Hi.
So today we're just going to have fun. We are in Lecker Cafe, which is the baby of Bernadette. She only goes by one name. Like Beyonce, like Oprah.
It's easier to remember.
Yes. So tell us, why Lecker?
Lecker, it's yummy. And I just figured
In what
yummy
language?
food. It's German.
Okay.
German, but like I'm half German, half Nigerian. Lecker is for yummy food. I mean, for you eating my food, right?
Yes. She
Same
has-
thing over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Desserts. It's comfortable. Everybody likes it. So,
Mm-hmm.
a nice yummy place to stay.
And it's homey, it's cozy,
Yes,
it's
thank
you.
wonderful. Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm glad we found this place.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Faye, why do you come here?
Why did I come to Lecker? I discovered Lecker last year when I first moved back to Nigeria, and it was a place that I used. I used it as a venue actually for an event that I had. The same reason why I keep coming back. It's comfortable, it's homey, the food is amazing, the ambience is really comfortable. And as a woman, I tend to always look for places that are comfortable, that I don't find threatening. And Lekker is very much like that. So this is one of the reasons why I love to come here.
What do you mean by threatening places?
There are a few places in Lagos where you feel that as a woman you can go comfortably and people are not either looking at you like if you're some sort of street walker or that you're looking for business or something, but you're just a woman who just wants to go out and have a good time. And you can go on your own. So like I can come here on my own. I don't have to, I don't have to go with my husband. I don't have to go with my friends. I can just come on my own. So that's why I like coming to Lekker.
Do you get to see a lot of women just go by themselves and sit somewhere, or what's the culture?
Well,
Travel in packs or
here, I'd rather go with my sister
Okay.
or with a friend.
Yeah.
That way, they have a meal, have a drink, chit chat. I haven't really tried going out on my own, but I understand what she says. When it's like you're on display. You're vulnerable. You're just out there all on your own. So yes, for something Faye forgot to mention, we apparently have a lot in common. I know your sisters.
Yes, she does actually.
You know,
Yes.
so we are like
It's like family. as
family
well.
friends. Yes.
So again, home. In London, I can go out on my own. I have no issues going to places on my own. I can go to a cafe, have drinks, go for a meal by myself. But in Nigeria, a lot of times I always go with a friend, or as I said, like pack of females, or with male friends that I may have. And even that, I don't go out with my male friends as often as I used to before.
because
Because I think that there's always, especially as I'm married, I think that there's a lot of misconception that, men and women can't be friends safely. So I can be out with a male friend and somebody might be thinking it's not my husband or something is going on. Meanwhile, I was a tomboy growing up, so I have a lot of male friends. But my male friends have reduced since I've been married. And it has nothing to do with my husband. It's just a societal thing. And I think I just started trimming them. Or I made friends with their wives.
right.
And that's how it.
I was staying at another hotel and I went outside to sit by the pool and was working. And now that you say this, I remember telling a friend I felt so uncomfortable.
I remember going to Abuja. I've had a lot of careers in my life, and so I used to be an event decorator before. And we were doing a wedding, and my auntie and I stayed at this hotel in Abuja. And I remember we came downstairs, and we wanted to sit in the lobby after dinner for drinks. And the barman came up to us, and he was like, "Madam, please don't sit here. Just sit in the other place outside." And we were very like, "Excuse you, like why?" And he was like, "Madam, please, you look like decent like you look like decent ladies. So I'm helping you. Don't sit here. And literally, as soon as he finished talking, I think my auntie and I were still like even giving him attitude like. And some guys came and they were like, how much?
Wow. Okay, now.
So the barman was looking at us like,
I told you so.
and so we just got up and then he just led us to somewhere else, which was a place where apparently women could sit more freely. But in that particular bar, apparently it's known for women who are on their own, who are coming to sell their wares and stuff. I think the younger generation have it easier now because there's more freedom now. You still have to be cautious in certain areas, but there's more freedom for young girls, and my cousins go out by themselves all the time. And I think they're more they're a hardier bunch than we are. They're not as scared. They're tougher. They're more likely to, tase a guy. A lot of the younger girls that I know, they all have, pepper spray and they all have tasers, and they're not afraid to use it. So I think it's kind of like.
So it's
they
like
are more-
essential handbag goodies. What should you have in your
Yes.
handbag?
Pepper spray.
Pepper spray.
Oh yes, it does the
Sorry,
work.
guys.
Well, Bernadette, like you said, you're German and Nigerian. Tell us all the places you've grown up.
Well, so I was born in Zurich, grew up in Germany. After I think I'm a Bavarian. My dad moved to Ghana, so we stayed in Ghana.
So your
for a
dad
while.
is Nigerian.
My father is Nigerian.
Okay.
Where are you from?
From Ngopala.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Do you get that a lot? Like when you say you're Nigerian, do you have to justify your Nigerianness?
Yes, it's
Okay.
a Nigerian thing. So, where are you from? I'm Igbo. From where? So like we need to make that
Very
distinction. You see,
sensitive.
because there's Anambra Igbo and there's Imo Igbo, and they're two different kind of Igbos. We appreciate all of that. I'm Imo Igbo. I actually want them to know I'm Imo Igbo. We don't want to know your local government. We don't want to know your village because we might actually be related one way or the other. So, like I said, it's a Nigerian thing. I've learned to, along the years, appreciate it because I actually do the same now. But when I was much younger, it was very irritating. Like,
Yeah.
I'm Nigerian. Isn't that, sufficient? But it's not. But I guess when you get older, you appreciate that.
I was asking you about the nuances of skin color. And, I'm just trying to understand as I'm looking at makeup and looking at stuff in the marketplace. I remember speaking to a makeup artist and she says, these are the 4 major colors. These 2, they sell all the time. But even though people are black, these people use this color. And I was like, she was very blunt about it. She says, the black people that use this color should use this color, use this one. So I said, but how does that look and why? And she's just like, don't worry, that's just how we are. So what does that mean exactly, if you had to break that down?
We're shades of color in my house. My nephew is blonde, blue-eyed. Pass for a perfect white guy. My niece she's Mediterranean looks, dark hair. My sister, on a good day, she tans because I don't like tanning, is darker than me. Because I like being indoors, I'm a bit lighter. So we're all shades of color inside. Coming out, then you have a perception of other colors. And I see a lot of people like, oh, I like your color. How do you maintain your color? It's mine by birth, by genes, right? And they're like, oh, don't you use anything to maintain your color? And I'm like, why are we so freaky about color?
So people actually come to you and say, I like your color.
Oh, yes.
That was
Not
before.
your skin, not...
It's a color. They don't know me. They don't want to know what I am or who I am. It's just this is, what's this? A flag, right?
It's success. This is everything is good.
This is easy going. This is easy going.
Yellow.
Easygoing meaning?
Easy going. Lucky you.
Oh.
I mean, if I have this color, I'd have everything.
Everything.
So they don't understand.
They just believe
why-
that if you have this color, that this means that you're gonna achieve. This means that you're gonna succeed. This
You're gonna
means
get the man.
you're gonna get the man. This means that
cars,
this
the
is
house,
this is the
everything.
perception.
This is simsalabim, abracadabra.
Abracadabra, magic. Pew 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 pew.
For real. Like, oh, what cream do you use? I'm like, hello.
I don't use cream.
But as I got older, it was infuriating, it was irritating. I still don't understand why you go to such lengths to become a shade lighter than me when on a good day I want to sit out and get darker.
yeah.
You understand? And recently we had a conversation with a friend of mine on Instagram and we're talking about you're not helping yourself. the diseases that are out there, you can't protect yourself. It's not only about the cancer that is within you, it's about the cancer that is on the skin.
Oh.
Like, I mean, how many black people know that you actually need sunscreen?
You need melanin. Hello.
You need sunscreen. You can't be going out in the sun and thinking, oh, okay, skin cancer is only for light-colored people. Hello? No, it's for all of you. You know? And then you have people that, or you know, like the creams where they go skin toning. I still don't understand what we're toning.
That's the newfangled way of
Same bleach.
It's old. I still didn't understand what skin toning was because I would ask people, what are we toning?
No, but toning apparently is to maintain the color.
Even it.
Yes, to even it and maintain it. So toning, they'll say is not bleaching. They'll say, no, auntie, I'm not bleaching, I'm toning.
The toning. I still don't get it. But then I avoid those kind of creams because I really don't need to tone. So I think, you know.
Does anybody need to tone?
Well, if you're 7 shades of one color, maybe you need to tone. I mean, it happens to us at any point in time. There are times when the weather is really bad, but what happens to us is depigmentation. So we'd have like white spots, you know, like we slowly start fading. So yes, we do have things like that, but I thank God for makeup. So instead of looking at patchwork, just use a little bit of makeup and move on. Now it's a little bit different, I guess.
I think in terms of color, for me, I love my color. I love my color. In fact, I'm one of those people who've been accused of wanting to be darker. So I know when I would do makeup and I would use a darker shade of powder, my makeup artist would go crazy. She'd be like, why, Feyi, why? And I'd be like, because I like it. I like the fact that it's even and everything. And she'd be like, but that's not your color. You know, then she'll be like, oh, your chest is this color. Look at your hands, it's light. And I'm like, but I'm dark. You know, so I've never had that issue. But I know growing up that it was kind of irritating. But it was just that kind of thing of the guys would just constantly, and I think men are part of I don't know whether men are the problem or it's women's perception of men because women feel that men like lighter skinned women. And I think that Nigerian men in particular have this thing that they've put about liking light-skinned women. And in media, when you look at media, whenever men become successful, then they go and get a lighter wife or a white wife. A lighter woman or a white wife. That's their...
Even in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, it would be a lighter-skinned woman.
No, I say that because, well, when you look at the media in the U.S., a lot of the quote-unquote successful black men
have white wives.
Yeah.
So here,
colored wives, because they come in shades of.
They are whites. They're Caucasian. They are whites.
What about the ones that have
mixed race?
Yes.
Yeah, mixed race.
So that's a different color. So colors.
Okay, they go for lighter skinned women.
Yes.
Lighter skinned women, whether it's white, whether it's light skin, whether it's mixed race, they go for lighter skin. Yeah. Even Asian, they go for lighter skinned women. And I think it's a throwback to slavery. I'm so sorry, but it's something that I just don't understand because I'm like, you have women, and it's not about the woman. It's just about
the picture.
It's about that picture of this. I think light skin equals to success. So people go through all sorts of, if men knew the things that women went through to get light, well, intelligent men would put a stop to it and would discourage it because people are doing life-threatening things. Yeah. You know, they're taking cancer drugs. Yeah. To kill the pigmentation in their skin, bleaching products. They're sitting they're taking injections to maintain their color. So those girls that you see, that when they were young, they were black and now they're yellow.
Look, it's bad. I watched a video on Instagram and this person, because they didn't show the face, was dark. Not as dark as your face. Now uses a cream and rubs it, circular motion. And as they're rubbing it, I was seeing things. Started getting white. I'm like, what's going on here? And kept on rubbing. They were marketing a whitening cream. And really, so I now checked the other pages and she had it in succession. How from dark skin, after 2 weeks, after 1 week, and she was selling.
Yeah, people buy.
This thing about, there's something that you said about school. I remember when I was in school too, and I was one day pulled aside by 2 of my friends and they go.
Was that in school in Nigeria?
Yes, I went to school in Nigeria. And I was told that as a half caste, I was useless.
Half caste?
And
That's the
then
word.
I was half caste.
I mean, I know that this show may air in other places, but for people in Nigeria, the word for mixed race people
It's
is half
half-caste.
caste.
Okay.
So if you hear it,
Commonplace.
it's commonplace.
Yes.
It's not offensive.
It's not offensive. You know, like after a while, you outgrow certain things. I have not outgrown Oyibo pepper. But I have outgrown half caste. So
Oyibo Pepe, please explain for our viewers.
well, Oyibo is white, if I'm not mistaken. Then there's this song which I would not like to go into, but I can find. You want to chant with me?
Oyibo pepper, if you eat pepper, you go yellow more.
So now, do you understand?
I get it.
Well, in Ghana, they would sing Obroni Coco.
It's same thing.
Obroni Coco actually was more, I guess, maybe white and brown. You understand? But
Okay.
I'm not Oyibo. You understand? Anyway, so I was told as useless. And I'm like, why? And then it was explained to me that my purpose for being their friends was so that
They could pull the boys in.
from all the guys that would come, at least the ones that I didn't want, they could, they could have their pick
You
off.
grant them access.
No, I know that I grant them access, but there will be a ready market for suitors that I didn't want for them.
Wow. So, what do you think that really said about what they thought?
But it was very simple. I had no use. Because I wasn't actually looking. Yes, I did have a lot of people that would were interested in dating me and things like that. But I guess my head wasn't in that place. So instead of, I should have basically channeled them to a friend. But I wasn't thinking. That's basically what I was being told. So that was one lesson, and I realized I had to learn it early. And so when I made friendships then, I always had that at the back of my mind that you're useless. So just, play the part. But other than that, I mean, now, and she has a point. Go and look at the pictures of so-called successful people. It's a picture-perfect scenario. So, the successful man, his colored wife. I say colored, but as in light. Yes, that's how it is. I remember even when I was in Germany, we used to hang out with a friend of ours, and he loved taking us out, to the pub for drinks. Fine. But then he would introduce us as his pearls. So one of my friends goes, sure, he's showing off with you. This is exactly how the conversation was. I go, well, if he's happy with it. I didn't see anything wrong with it because I'd taken my mind off that racial profiling. But everybody else was like, oh, I wish I was him. I have two half castes, yes.
So that was you and your sister?
No, a friend of mine.
Okay, a friend.
And this was in Germany.
And the guy was?
He was German. Yeah. Yeah, so, it works both ways.
Novelty in different places.
Yeah.
But I wonder did you hang out with only mixed race people when you were growing? Because that's what I found.
No, I didn't.
In Nigeria, we had most of my friends who were mixed race they all had, so we used to call it the
community.
half caste society.
Yeah.
They would all just be friends with each other and it would be like they moved together, but they said it was safety for them.
One, because our mothers probably networked together,
Yes.
they always, because we have
Different
our mothers
places.
called Niger Wives. It was a group where women married to Nigerians, or foreign women married to Nigerians had formed a support group, for women that were coming.
Support.
Yeah, you need
No,
support
I get
at
it,
that point in time.
absolutely.
But then no, because I used to find them ditzy. So no, I didn't hang out with them. You thought you were a hot tomboy? I was worse.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Interesting. I don't have those issues.
Me neither. No hang-ups. I mean, I understood racism very late in life.
Yeah,
Actually,
same.
10, 15 years. And I burst into tears because I didn't know how to deal with it. I had never actually had that
Experience
where
racism,
somebody looked at me and thought I was unfit to be a human being.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to deal with it. And
Yeah.
it was the first time. And then it occurred to me that this is what other people have been going through for so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find it very interesting when I see people who immigrate to the U.S. who don't understand racism and their relationship with people who experience racism. It's very quickly discarded, like, get over it, because that's how you deal. Like, if your friend came and said, oh, so-and-so did something to me, you're thinking of them as human, but not in
As a
terms
color.
of the color of their skin. So it may be something that, I went to this store and I was not paid attention to. You're just like, just probably having a bad day. But in other other
countries, I get what you mean.
Countries, it may have been she may have been having a bad day, but was it precipitated by the fact that I look different. So there's always this secondary conversation that happens.
Unfortunately, it does happen. And there was a period where I'd go into a shop, and if I thought I was being discriminated at, I'd come out straight. I go, is it because I'm black?
Excuse me, we experience racism from our own people in Nigeria, so I don't
Okay,
understand.
so explain that.
It's reverse racism, where black people are racist to you because a white person is there.
Yeah. I mean, well, you
So
are
you
you are in
mean
the
like
right.
a white person?
A white person comes
gets
into a shop
preferential
or
treatment.
into a, yes, and they get preferential treatment to the black person.
Okay.
And they'll tell you, like, you go into restaurants and I came in before the white person and they'll be like, madam, wait, let me just serve Oga first. And I'm like, excuse you. I can get aggressive in those kind of situations. I'm like, no, that doesn't happen. I came before them, And they're like, madam, the Oyinbo. So those are the things that we do here, and it's still a throwback to colonization.
Right.
So we still have
be
that.
served first.
The white man needs to be served first. You need to treat them. I mean, and that is white of it. And I will not embarrass myself on TV, but I have very extreme views on that. So I haven't experienced racism as a child or anything until I became an adult, and it was through my child. So it wasn't even through me. Like a lot of people who they want to run to foreign lands or whatever, till they meet it. And racism, so in England, racism is more veiled. It's very subtle. In America, it's more overt. I've been lucky that even when I went to the States, it wasn't, I never experienced racism because I went to a black area, so I was in Atlanta, so it was fine. But being in England, boarding school, and then also, as I said, as a mother, we had an experience just last year with my daughter. So it was two things. It was having a special needs child and having a black special needs child. And these Chinese people were filming my child. They were laughing, they were making monkey noises at us. It was one of the most heartbreaking experiences I've ever experienced in my life. To know that these people this is a child. So for me, I've had people hit my child. Yes, in London. I've had an American woman call her an animal.
Wow.
Yes, this is just the experience. This is what happened. She was having a meltdown, and when she melts, she screams or she's shouting. And the person said to me, can't you control your animal? And I was thinking to myself, if it was a white child, would they have used that word? Or the woman, my child fell on her in a bus and the woman hit her. This is a child. My daughter is now 8. She's going to be 9 in December, but at that time she was probably 7 and 8. That for me was extremely, I've never experienced that in my life. I keep saying that Nigerians, we don't actually understand how lucky we are, that we never went to the part of, how in South Africa they had apartheid or how in America they had slavery. We don't understand what it's like to be treated badly because of the color of our skin. We do take it for granted. So some people do sort of like, it's not a big deal because we haven't had to deal with that. We don't even know the injury that after generations. We were descendants of slaves, but my family were like the ones who came back to Africa. So I still have a slave surname, basically. But at the same time, I think we take it for granted. We're lucky because we're surrounded with people who look just like us. We don't have to go through those challenges. We do, as I say, we do the sort of like servant to master kind of thing, but we haven't been mistreated because of the color of our skin.
I remember going to Kenya for the first time, growing up and living in the U.S. Not only is it the way that we think racism has affected the way white people think about black people, but the way we think about ourselves.
Yes.
And, my dad was a PhD. My mom has however many master's degrees. Like, my entire family is well educated. And I remember I grew up in predominantly white areas. Going to Atlanta, and where we have, beautiful, bustling black community, and walking into a pharmacy and seeing a black pharmacist and being like, oh, because society has taught us that we don't achieve as much, or we're not as educated. And even though the people closest to me are that and more,
It
I
was
still
difficult
get
for you to see. Yeah.
surprised, right? So once that happened, I had to start saying, what do I need to relearn?
Yes.
Or what do I consciously need to say to myself so that I recognize, so I recognize just the beauty and diversity of all of us, And I'm really ashamed to say that, but it's
reality.
truth,
Yeah,
right?
it's truth.
I also find that when a lot of Africans immigrate, they have a lower,
Value system.
not lower values, but their perception of Black people in America is always like those people.
Yes.
Yes, they're other. They're not
Us.
They're not us. They're not as good as us, right? Not meaning us Africans. This conversation is very difficult.
Because I'm just looking at this.
She's like, who's
and I'm
us? Who are we?
Because what she said is true. I mean, let's say I've nearly lived all my life in Nigeria, and I only started seeing or understanding racism about 10 years ago. I mean, growing up, I grew up in Germany,
Right.
and I was literally me and my dad were the only two colored people in that town. Excuse this expression, but I remember the first time and only time when my father was about to beat somebody up, when I went to my dad, and I'm going to say it in German, and I go, Papi, was ist nigger? And my father goes, who said that to you? Show me, and drags me back to the playground. And I'm like, that kid there said I was a nigger meaning nigger. My father went ballistic. But other than that, I didn't understand what that meant. I was in and out, everybody knew me. I mean, until recently, where maybe the population has increased by maybe 5 or 6, we're still not
plenty.
Do you understand? Even in the whole, in that sub-region of Germany at that time, there were not that many. But then in Nigeria, we're comfortable. I'm comfortable being me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm not so into the color of my skin, so I can just be me.
People.
And you're my friend. You're my friend not because you're colored or because your mom is white or your dad is white or my parents know each other. No, you're my friend because you're my friend. But then I started seeing subtle changes. I mean, I love going to the States, New York being my favorite city of all places. But you see this little thing. I remember the first time, and I'm really sorry, I went to Harlem. I was sweating. I came out. And I remember the first person I saw was someone wearing a wedding gown. Now, coming from a nation where everybody is a darker shade than me, I felt a bit uncomfortable being in Harlem, where everybody is still a darker shade that I understand. But coming back to that statement that you said, where we Africans tend to think of you as they and we as us.
I hear you.
That is how, do you understand? And I felt a bit strange.
Right.
So the little kid, I was just standing there really scared, and I was trying to get a cab, and the little kid came up to me and goes, "Do you want to hail a cab?" And now showed me how. And I'm like, "What's your problem?" It's the same people, kind of thing.
Right.
So
that just shows how much of an influence the media has, right?
Yes.
In shaping the narrative, shaping the way we think, or that internal dialogue that we never really
Think
let
about,
out,
yeah.
and how that affects how we treat other people.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the point of these conversations, to say, let's kind of dig a little deeper.
I think, so an experience that we had, we lived in Dubai for a little bit. I went to culinary school there. And my son, and this is what frustrates me, because I have a lot of Indian friends. I have a lot of friends who are Asian, Indian. I don't even know what to call people anymore. This is what I'm talking about, being politically
Correct.
They're Indian, okay? And my son was in a playground. I was one of the only black people in that area, predominantly white as well. And he went into the playground, and the next day, because I'm in school from really early to very late, and I came back, and my son is having nightmares. So he's screaming in his sleep, he's crying, he's peeing on himself, and I'm like, what's going on? So one day he finally spoke to me and he was like, Mama, that, they beat him. They beat him up, in the playground. How old is this child? He's 6, right? What did they say? They said that he is kaka. that is poo, right? And sorry, it's still very hard. And I remember going to school the next day, I was furious. Because one thing about Dubai, Emiratis can be racist, but to other people, but racism is not allowed for them. So they're gonna deal with it, right? And that's one thing I respect about them. So one of my friends said to me, you call the police. Because if someone is found to be racist, that is it, straight. I mean, like Dubai, they don't play. You know, so I remember going back and telling my nanny that she should go to the playground and tell them, just spread the word that if anyone touches this child again, the police are coming. And that was it. And then we found out that these children don't even live in our estate. They came from somewhere else to the estate to beat my child. And I'm like, you know, so it's those kind of things that even, so with the Indians, the issue is that they feel that because we are black, that we're worse than them. So, and they hate the fact, yes, being the, so and then for them to see a black family who's living in a good neighborhood, they didn't feel that he should be there. You know, so he's going to a good school, he's living with white people, basically. They just felt, how dare he, you know. But it was just that a child would have to experience that at this age. I mean, living in London as well, I mean, not in London, in England, because we lived outside of London. My son has had to, so many things. Like for him, it was very strange. So he wanted to be white. He would say things to the barber like, please, can they perm his hair so that it will fall in his face, that he wants to be able to, like, what's his name? So not just, so my son is a football fanatic. And I think his favorite footballer played something. He plays for Chelsea. And he wants to be able to flick his head like that. And I'm like, so the barber is looking at him like, Feyi, please sort your child out. You need to sort your child out. And he was like, he doesn't want them to call him Kobe anymore. Mommy, stop calling me Kobe Chuku. Call me Benjamin. Oh, wow. And my younger son, who is proudly black, proudly Nigerian, is like, my name is Kaito Chuku. Wear his, you know, and he's 3, wear his Nigerian clothes. And it was so funny, you know. And so coming back to Nigeria for my son was like, oh, he was so happy.
Which one?
The older one, the first one who was wanting to be called Benjamin and everything. He would see friends, his color and his, you know, his confidence came back, and he was so confident. He was so happy to leave. That really shook me, because I just thought, okay, this was supposed to be home. And I couldn't imagine what would happen if we had stayed longer. So for me, it's like, we're not going back until he's old enough to be confident. And so like a lot of guys don't realize that going abroad as an older person is much better for you than going as a younger person, because you have formed your confidence and you formed your identity. But a lot of young guys, when they went younger, have been broken by it, because they've had to come down. They feel the inferiority. They feel so many things that it's hard to explain, but it changes their confidence, you know. Yeah.
I'll say the same. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and my son was born in the U.S., but we lived in Kenya. When we moved back to Kenya when he was 6 weeks old. And, you know, so he was there till about 2.5. But when we moved back to the U.S., he would probably say he's Kenyan and has this like affinity and love for Kenya, which I think is beautiful. But I can see now he's 7, and I can kind of see that confidence.
It's fading, yeah.
And it's interesting because he has a sister, and he looks at her, and he'll tell her how to fix her hair, because they're so cute. They love each other, and he wants to present her so
to the
she's
world acceptable.
Oh. And she's a little wild child, so she's like, oh, and, you know, hair everywhere, and he's like,
let's make it neat. Let's just make it neat.
Mommy, can you?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. So my son used to do that. He used to, Mommy, can we straighten Kamara's hair? Can we just make it straight?
Yes.
And I'd be like, so me, I'm doing her hair in like knots and twists. Like, no, mommy, just straight. Just put it away from her face. And then I'm now realizing that he probably was seeing all, and then he's had this thing, yes,
want her
to be different. Yes.
I know
Yeah.
men who don't know what their wives look like under
Without.
the hair and the makeup.
Yeah.
If
And
we kind of, because you're a body positivity advocate, how does this align with being
What
body
I-
positive and what you stand for?
so part of me being body positive was as a plus size model. I won a competition in the United Kingdom for a plus size range called Yours Clothing, and I entered it solely because of my daughter. So I have a daughter who has special needs. She's autistic, and I wanted her to know that beauty comes in different packages, and it's not just about one package and what one narrative. So I needed her to know that mommy is different. And for a while, when I entered the competition, and especially since it was in Britain and it was a big competition, I never thought that I would even place, talk less of winning, And I remember when I entered the competition, I thought, so part of my, you have to send in a little video. And part of what I said in the video was I showed my arms and I had really short hair then. And I said, none of the women have hair like mine. They have, blonde hair and stuff. And so out of 15,000 women, I was shortlisted to 50, 25, and then there were 3 winners, and I was one of the winners. And it was a very eye-opening time for even myself, because I think, this girl coming from Nigeria, and I come to the UK, and I'm like, okay, I won. I think it was mind-blowing for me. And it made me realize how I also saw myself, because I didn't think that I would even place, and I think it was important for my daughter to see that a woman of color, a black woman, could win, and a woman who looked like me. So, short hair, I didn't have blonde hair, I don't wear makeup half of the time, I wear makeup only like if I'm doing things like this. So I think part of being body positive is for people who see me know that most of the time I'm always in my natural face. I'm happy to be me. There are things about me that I don't like, but there are things about me that I like a lot. And I think we need to teach our children to love themselves. And I realized that children start off loving themselves. They're very happy. As I said, I would go around jumping like a frog because I thought it was cute, but until another voice becomes that major voice that you hear.
Right.
People telling you, now in Nigerian women are curvy, they're big by nature. But with Fit Fam, and there's nothing wrong with being fit. I have no issues about being fit, but I think the narrative of this skinny woman is not in our build. We're not built like that. We're not built skinny and thin. Those that are lucky, but a lot of Nigerian women are curvy. We have thighs, we have hips, we have chest, so. But many women are changing that script. And I honestly don't know I don't know if they're changing it because of men or they're changing it for themselves. Because I think a lot of times the men that I've spoken to are not looking for skinny minis. They want women that have curves and they want things. But it disturbs. So even with the skin color thing, I sometimes think, is it women doing it for themselves? Is it part of them not loving themselves, or them thinking that it's better for them to be a different color or a different size or shape? And so I think the message of body positivity is one that has to be continued, because I think people just have to wake up in the morning and be happy to be themselves.
Alongside that, and thank you for that background, I've learned in this culture, or even in Cameroon, right? Women are taught from a very young age to think about how they present to men. And it's never just about you. It's not about loving yourself. It's about what makes you the best
attraction or attractive.
Yes, for the man. And has that really affected what's happening in society? Because when we listen to this conversation, if we go back and play, you're like, they want to look good for the men. This is what the men's preference is, and even with the curves. It's men prefer curves, but
What do we prefer?
yeah.
So I want to say from the two spectrums of living abroad and living in Nigeria. I find that my friends in the UK, and when I say my friends, those are my Caucasian friends, they're not so caught up about it being about a man. It's about what is for themselves. But I think as girls in Nigeria, from the very beginning, it's like, yeah, you know, we'll marry you like that. So where will you find a husband like that? Well, you have to do this, you know, for this man. You have to do. In this part of the world, it's very much who. So women are bred to. You are born. You go to primary school. You go to secondary school. If you're from the right family, you go to university. Then you marry. Gigam. Then you have children. That's it. But guys are like, okay, I go to school, I go to university, I go to whatever, I can have a master's, I can have a whatever, a job, I get married, I get my PhD, da 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 da. Marriage just fell in there. It didn't. It's not the
It's just
end.
part of the flow.
But with us, it's like Mrs. and that's it.
Nice.
You know, and it's a narrative that I feel that should stop, because I think that a lot of people are set up for failure because of it. I think it puts everyone under pressure. I think it puts the men under pressure, and I think it puts the women under pressure as well. Because I don't think here in Nigeria people can actually really enjoy themselves. And when I say enjoy themselves, just enjoy you. As in, like, I'm just enjoying you for being, you know, Bayo, for being Tayo, for being whoever you are, or just enjoying me for being Feyi or Buki or Kemi or whoever. We don't get that chance. I don't think that Nigeria cultivates relationships. Like, when I say relationships, like friendships, you just can't be. So even if you're dating, there's this thing of, so in England, like, you're free, you can date. I mean, you can date to first of all, but when women date here, I think they're dating, okay, is this the one?
Yeah. The final stop.
So I'm always telling my younger friends, like, I'm like, enjoy yourself, date. And it's also because of the religious pressures we have as well. So it's either as a Muslim, you can't, or a Christian, there's sex, you know. So with a young person, it's always like, but if I sleep with him, but boys don't have that issue. And I always tell my friends, but the boys are sleeping with somebody. So the person that they're sleeping with, do you understand? And I think that that is the issue that we also have here. A lot of girls do just want to date. A lot of girls do just want to have relationships, but they're scared. They're scared that people will call them names. That you know, there are things that are that comes with that package. You know, you just can't. It's like for me, if I saw a young girl and she had a condom in her bag, I would give her a high five because it shows someone who is thinking, and it shows a girl who is responsible. But if a guy saw a girl with a condom in her bag, she's a slut, she's a prostitute, you know, and I'm thinking, okay, so the guy that's sleeping with the prostitute, what are you? But people don't think in that sense, you know, or a man is having an affair with someone or having a relationship with someone. What do you call the man? There's no name for that, but there's a name for the woman. And I think that it's only a generation who is able to think and realize that there's a big responsibility for, because when I raised my boys, I was young, and I tell them now, even little things like if they want to take a sweet from their sister, so there's one girl, and she says no, you are not allowed to ask anymore. Yeah. They know. You know, and they ask me, and even in school, so my little boy wants to hug and kiss, and he's always wanting to kiss me, and I'm like, no, I don't want. And he'll be like, no, mommy, but I'm like, when someone tells you no, it's no. And he looks at me, and he's 5, but he gets it. And I'm thinking, if I continue like this, he will know later on how to be responsible. But I know children, I know adults who you say no about little things, and they're like, oh yeah, no, let me just have one small piece. No, okay, just give me that. Yeah. If a 5-year-old can get it, then an adult should be able to get it. But I think we are not comfortable enough to be able to have those conversations with our boys. And I think a lot of it, yes, it is women who also have to have those conversations. If the men aren't having it, then the women have to have the conversations. Yeah. And we can't start with older men. We have to start with a younger generation as well. And it's only the older guys who are willing to sit and have those conversations and say, okay, look, where have we gone wrong? What can we change? Because at the end of the day, you're going to be a father. you're gonna have a daughter. I tell my friends, like my male friends, I'm like, see these things they're doing, somebody's gonna do it to your child. And then that's when they're like, oh shit. Do you understand? Because it's important, and I think we cannot tell lies. We can't. So for me, I'm very open with my young male friends, with my my friends who want there to be a change. We're very open about having these conversations. That how do I be a better man? How do I be a responsible man? It's the fact that responsibility is both ways. It's not just for one person. It's not just for a girl to be responsible. I want my son. The kind of mother I am. I want my daughter-in-law to come home and be like,
Thank you,
mommy, thank you. Like, I don't want any girls to come to my house and be complaining. Like, truly and honestly, I don't want her to phone me. I don't want her to disturb me. I want to be out on a cruise somewhere. I don't want her to disturb me, to be phoning me that, oh, your son has been, he's beating me, or he's shouting at me, or he's cheating on me. Those are the kinds of things that I'm hoping that, there's sometimes my son tells his dad, he's like, oh, daddy, you need to get mommy some more presents, or why don't you, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, this is a little boy who already knows that you need to be more compassionate, where he's like, oh, mommy's crying and you're not hugging, hug her. I get irritated about him, but he's so compassionate, and this is at age 5. And I do everything in my power to not break that.
Right.
So if he wants to cry, allow him to cry. If he wants to be sweet, I allow him to be sweet. And I think that we need to know that boys actually are supposed to be raised with more love than women are. And we forget that.
Because like you've said, we've already set the bar high for women. We're not allowed to do this. We're not allowed to sit this way. We're not allowed to look this way. We're not allowed to be relaxed. We're not allowed to be ourselves, women. So if we use that same strict hand, why can't we use that same strict hand on a guy? Why is it okay for a guy to beat a woman, but it's not okay for the woman to leave the man? Because we're both children from a parent. So what did we do wrong as a parent that the man turns around to hit a woman, but yet you come home and carry your mother? There is something infinitely wrong. Why is it okay for a woman to stay in an abusive relationship? Why is it not okay for the woman to be able to run to her mother-in-law? To what?
Yeah. No, men will cheat and the woman will cheat, and you have another story.
Yeah, do you understand?
Boys will do things and girls
but
will
from
be
the whole everything that we're saying here now is that boys are free to do whatever they want to do, whereas we are not. We are in a straitjacket. We're not allowed to move or anything. It's the same parents that has both a boy and a girl. So why is it okay for one hand to be stronger and the other hand to be loose? And at the end of the day, what do we get?
And it causes problems.
It does.
In relationships.
It does.
Because you find that the men are looking for this free woman or this free-spirited person, and she hasn't been trained to do that, because she's been trained to be like this. And then you go out and look for something else, and it's like, okay.
Or when she's free-spirited, she's not good enough.
No, when she's free-spirited, you say wives don't behave like that.
So like you were saying something and about us being women, just being women, dressing up and looking good. And in fairness,
And it's a color thing as well.
yes, because I'm about to get there.
It's
Because
actually a color thing.
yes, I'd love to dress up for a man.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd love to dress up for a man, because I'm going to get the compliments at the end of the day. I think it's fun. But you see, I will not compare myself to I don't put myself as a part of a mass of women. I don't conform to religious restrictions or society's restrictions. I'm me. So if I think this is good for me, fine. Somewhere along the line, I've learned what I want and what I don't want. And if I tell you no, and you don't listen to it, you can't take meat from my plate. It's my food. Don't even ask me. I'm not going to give it to you. The same way you can't touch me if I don't want you to touch me. So I will defend myself. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I'm going out on a date with you. I don't want to look nice. I don't want to smell nice. I don't want to, what's the word? Titillate your senses.
Yes.
But that...
And it's not because you bought me drink.
Because it's my right. It's my right as a woman to tease you. But like she said, it's not licensed for you to misbehave. So you need to learn where there is the common and where there is the fact that you just look at her and appreciate what you have with you.
And I think that as women of color, we do have more stigma, because women of color, black women, I'd say, we're notoriously more sensual. People see us as more sensual. Black women are more sexy. We're portrayed as all sorts of things.
Hypersexualized.
Yes, it's very hypersexual. And even from slave days, a black woman just can't go out just being anyhow because she's liable to be, because of again how we're built, so it's a very difficult one, because I know that, so growing up, as I said, in the UK, having friends who are whites, my friends at age 12, 13, white friends were sleeping, they were already having sex. And it was not like, do you understand? It wasn't, they didn't have the same kind of...
Tell your mother.
Oh God. So it's like a whole different kind of comment. So these things are also, maybe it's culture, but I know that there's a whole different mindset around it as well, in knowing that in our part of the world, things are very different. The way that we are is very different. The way that we respond, the way that we were brought up is very different.
Yes.
We don't have the freedom that a lot of other cultures have. We don't have the freedom that a lot of other races have. So as black women, I know that, even black Americans, black...
It transcends. It's the same.
So West Indians, it's all the same.
Yeah.
There's discipline, there's a heavy hand for the, the female child. And so one of the things that I see is that we're raising all these women to be this and this and that, but no one is doing anything. So you meet women who are far more developed than their male counterparts.
Yeah.
And the guys are just being left alone. No one is developing them. No one is bringing them up. No one is, they're just free to go about. And at the end, it's going to cause friction, because you have a woman who's thinking differently, who is, manifesting, who's intentional, who's doing all these things. And the guys are just, and especially here in Nigeria, I can speak about everyday conference for women, everyday conference, come and do this, women retreats, women.
It's only us now.
So I'm always like,
it's called empowerment. Sorry to interject here. I think even the women, we're on the floor. We are afraid that we're losing ourselves. I've realized that as much as we're a majority, we're a minority. We are still not getting the respect, the love, and the protection from the men that we should.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say that sometimes I wonder, even with our conversations, like some of these conversations, I wish guys were here. So I wish, even now, I wish I could pull up one of the guys and say, how do you feel seeing all these women leveling up? How does it make you feel? You're constantly having shows and things, and everybody's the girl child, the whatever, there's putting so much on the girl child. And she's been developed for who? Who is she being developed for? For men who are just still in the same place. And when I say that, they're not... So there's a whole generation of... So I met a bunch of younger men. And when I say younger, sort of between 25 to 35. And I was impressed, because I was like, these guys had gone and they're reading, they're really studying things, they're learning about, differences in how to... They talk to women different. The ones I met, they talk to the women differently. And I felt like, wow, that their older counterparts really missed out on this, because these guys are going to be able to stand toe to toe with their female counterparts. But men of a certain age, 35 to grave
Plus.
They've missed out on
they've missed, and they're not even challenging themselves to want to go further and see a difference. They just want this to stay in the same patriarchal system, which is not allowing anyone to grow. The truth is that they cannot be male without female, and they cannot be female without male. We need to be balanced. We need to be sort of equal. I understand some of the things that we have because of our culture, but there has to be an understanding that we need each other to be able to grow. And for the black man and for the black woman is even more important, because we're a dying species, and we just need to support each other in a way that is productive, so that our children don't become endangered, so that they know the right, because the black home is failing, and it's mostly because of a lot of the things that we have not been taught, or we're not going out to teach ourselves. So we're not opening our minds to learn more. And you're going to find that, you're going to have a global world that the black race is going to be at the bottom of the food chain. And for me, that is dangerous. And I think that the black male needs to stand up and realize that his black female is not a threat. We're not the enemy. We are your friends, and we need to stand side by side so that we continue to begin to build. There's so much that is good, in us, and so much that is beneficial and necessary, that we honestly need to continue these
conversations.
nothing again.
Okay. On that note, I want to thank you both for joining the conversation. You've expanded the scope. And this is what the conversations are about. Like, we can talk about color, but it's, like I said, it's so nuanced. It's entrenched in our culture. It's historical. It's societal. It's everything. It's everything. So thank you for lending your voices. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Yes.
We'd like to have more of you, Nayah.
Yes.
I would love to.
You're a Nigerian citizen.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment.